The twin suns of planet Terran sank low behind the endless fields of red dust. The air shimmered with heat, and the ground was cracked from long, dry winds. A man named Rin walked slowly toward his small metal house on the edge of a scrapyard. His clothes were covered in grease and dust, and his boots left faint tracks on the rough ground. He had spent the whole day fixing old engines for travelers who passed through the settlement. Rin was not rich, nor did he care much about riches. His days were filled with the quiet rhythm of work, repairing broken things and sharing stories with the few people who lived nearby. Terran was not a world many cared about. It was a forgotten mining colony where most people came only to survive. Yet for Rin, this dusty place was home. As evening came, the wind started to howl. Rin looked at the horizon and saw a strange flash of light in the sky. At first he thought it was lightning, but there were no clouds. The light moved fast, falling like a shooting star, and then a distant sound echoed, a deep crash far beyond the hills. Rin stopped and stared. Crashes were rare on Terran, and he knew that if something had fallen from the sky, it could be valuable scrap or even a lost ship. He picked up his worn satchel and started walking toward the smoke rising in the distance. His steps were steady even as the wind pushed against him. The sky had turned orange and the light of the two suns began to fade. When he reached the crash site, the ground was still hot. A small ship had torn through the sand and half buried itself in the dirt. Its outer shell was smooth and made of metal unlike any he had seen before. Rin approached carefully. He heard a faint beeping sound and a low hum coming from inside. Through a cracked window he saw movement. Someone was trapped inside. Without waiting, he used his tools to pry open the damaged hatch. The metal was still hot and smoke filled the air. Inside he found a woman lying against the wall of the cockpit. Her skin was pale and her clothes shimmered faintly under the dim light. She had short dark hair and wore a thin band of metal around her wrist that glowed softly. Rin spoke to her, asking if she was all right. She opened her eyes slowly and looked at him with confusion. "I am fine," she whispered weakly. "My name is Mira." Rin helped her out of the ship and gave her water from his flask. She seemed exhausted and disoriented. Her ship was damaged badly, with one of its engines completely burned. Rin asked where she came from, but she only said she was traveling through nearby systems and lost control after an engine failure. Her voice was calm, but there was something in her eyes, something that did not match her simple words. Rin decided not to ask too much. He had seen many travelers who wanted their privacy. He told her she could stay at his workshop until she recovered. Mira looked around at the desolate land, then nodded quietly. They walked together back to his home. The wind carried dust in small waves around them. When they reached the metal hut, Rin opened the door and led her inside. The room was small but neat. Old machines filled one side, while the other had a simple bed and shelves of tools. Rin brought her a bowl of warm soup and offered her a seat near the small heater. "You can rest here," he said. "I will check your ship tomorrow. Maybe I can fix it." Mira thanked him softly. Her voice was calm but distant, as if she was hiding a world of thoughts. Rin noticed the strange material of her clothes. They looked like they were made from silver threads that caught light even in shadow. But he told himself not to question her. She was a guest and she needed help, not curiosity. That night, while Mira rested, Rin went outside to look at the stars. The sky of Terran was always full of lights, thousands of tiny points spread across the dark. He often wondered what kind of worlds were out there, but he had never left Terran. Ships came and went, and he fixed them, but he never had a reason to go anywhere else. He liked the quiet life he had built, even if it was lonely. The next morning, Rin woke early and returned to the crash site. The ship was unlike anything he had seen. Its engines had a strange glow, and the wiring seemed to pulse like living veins. He carefully examined it, realizing it would take many days to repair. He returned to his workshop and told Mira that her ship could be fixed, but it would take time. Mira seemed calm. She said she could wait. Over the next few days, Rin worked tirelessly while she watched. She asked him simple questions: how long he had lived there, how people survived on this planet, and what made him stay. Rin answered honestly. He said he stayed because he believed even in a hard place, a person could still make life meaningful by helping others. Mira listened quietly. She was surprised by his words. In her world, kindness often came with a price. But Rin expected nothing. When he fixed something for someone, he never charged more than needed. When he shared food, he did it without reason. One evening, as Rin adjusted the damaged ship's control systems, Mira brought him a small metal piece from her wristband. It glowed faintly. "This may help you connect to the ship's core," she said. Rin accepted it with a nod, though he didn't understand how it worked. The part seemed to merge with the tools he used as if it was alive. The ship began to hum faintly again, its lights returning in soft pulses. Mira smiled for the first time since he had found her. It was a small smile, but it held warmth. Rin felt a quiet sense of pride. He told her that in a few more days it might fly again. That night they shared a meal together. Rin told her stories about the miners who used to come to Terran, about how the land once held great machines that dug deep into the ground, searching for rare metals. He told her how the world became forgotten when the mines ran dry. Mira listened carefully. She seemed thoughtful, almost sad. Later, when Rin had gone to sleep, Mira stood outside the hut and looked at the stars. She reached for her wristband and tapped it gently. A small holographic screen appeared, displaying symbols and messages in a language Rin could never read. The screen showed the words, "Communication lost, Imperial fleet offline, and threat detected, mission compromised." Mira turned it off quickly. Her heart was heavy. She knew she could not reveal who she truly was, not yet. She was not a lost traveler. She was High Commander Mira of the Celian Empire, ruler of 1,000 worlds, now hiding among strangers. Her ship had been attacked by forces she once trusted. She had barely escaped alive. If her enemies learned she had survived, they would come for her again, and anyone helping her would be in danger. She looked toward the hut where Rin slept peacefully and whispered, "You do not know who I am, yet you help me as if I were no one. Maybe that is what makes you strong." The next morning, Rin found Mira already awake, helping him clean old engine parts. She smiled and said she wanted to do something in return for his kindness. Rin tried to refuse, but she insisted. Together, they worked under the rising suns, fixing the damaged hull piece by piece. As the days passed, the air between them grew warmer. They did not talk much, but there was quiet respect in the way they worked together. Mira learned about simple things she had never noticed before. How Rin checked the water filters every morning. How he used sand to polish old metal. How he greeted every traveler even if they could not pay. She began to see strength in his simplicity. And Rin, though he still did not know who she was, began to feel that there was something special about her, something calm but powerful. When night came again, Rin looked at the stars and wondered where she came from. He had repaired many ships, but never one like hers. The light from her ship's engine now glowed softly, painting silver lines across the sand. In that quiet moment, Rin did not know that the woman sitting beside him was more than a traveler. He did not know that she commanded fleets that stretched across the stars, that her name was spoken with respect and fear in distant worlds. To him, she was simply someone who needed help, and in her heart, for the first time in many years, Mira felt something she had forgotten long ago: peace. The morning light spread across the dusty hills of Tehran as the wind brushed softly through the scrapyard. Rin stood near the half-buried ship, tightening bolts on the metal frame. He worked with care, humming quietly to himself. Beside him, Mira handed him tools with steady hands. Her eyes followed every movement he made, as if learning how humans worked in such simple but precise ways. During the last few days, Rin had made progress repairing her ship. The outer hull was sealed and the engine casing was clean. But the power core was still a mystery. It was unlike any other device he had seen before. It had a deep blue light that pulsed slowly like a heartbeat. When he touched it, it felt warm, almost alive. "This core," Rin said while studying it. "It does not look like anything built around this region. Where did you get it?" Mira hesitated for a moment. She looked down, pretending to check a tool. "It was made far away," she replied. "It is a prototype. It needs special adjustments to work again." Rin nodded slowly. He did not press further. He respected her privacy. Many travelers carried secrets with them, and he had learned long ago that asking too many questions could bring trouble. Still, something about the way she spoke made him curious. He connected his energy meter to the core and the screen blinked rapidly. Strange symbols appeared that his system could not translate. The readings were beyond anything his tools could measure. "This thing could power a city," he said quietly. "I have never seen such high energy levels." Mira smiled faintly. Yes, it can do more than you think. As they worked, the settlement nearby remained quiet. Only a few traders passed through, bringing supplies and fuel. They greeted Rin politely, and some looked at Mira with interest, asking where she came from. She always answered with simple words, saying she was traveling alone. People accepted that, though some whispered that she looked too noble to be wandering on a desert planet. That evening, Rin and Mira sat outside the workshop, sharing a meal of dried fruit and flatbread. The suns were setting, painting the sky with orange and pink colors. Rin spoke about the old days when the mining company still operated on Terran. He told her how people worked day and night to dig minerals until one day the company pulled out, leaving everyone behind. Mira listened quietly. She asked, "Why did you stay when others left?" Rin looked at the horizon. "Because this place needed someone who could fix things. When everyone left, machines broke down, homes fell apart, and no one cared. I stayed because I could still make a difference, even if it was small." His voice was calm, but it carried a deep strength. Mira felt something shift inside her. In her world, people fought for power and wealth. Yet here was a man who stayed behind just to help others. She wondered what kind of world it would be if more people were like him. When night came, Rin noticed a faint hum in the air. He looked up and saw a small blinking light moving across the sky. It was not a star. It moved too slowly, following a straight path. He narrowed his eyes. "Strange," he said. "I think that is a drone." Mira stood up quickly. Her face turned serious. "You see them often here?" "Not really," Rin replied. "Sometimes traders use small drones for mapping, but that one looks too far from orbit routes." Mira's heart began to race. She recognized the pattern of lights. It was a scout drone from the Celian fleet. Her enemies were searching for her. She tried to hide her fear and said softly, "Maybe it will pass by." Rin shrugged. "Maybe. But if it lands near the old mining field, I can go check tomorrow." That night, Mira could not sleep. She stood near the window, watching the faint light move in the distance until it vanished behind the hills. She knew that her ship's signal, even in damaged state, might have been traced. If those who betrayed her found her, they would destroy everything, including Rin's home. In the morning, Rin prepared his small sand runner, a vehicle with wide wheels and a rusty engine. He told Mira he wanted to check the area where he saw the light. She insisted on going with him. He agreed, though he warned her that the desert was harsh and full of sharp winds. They drove across the dry plains. The sand runner shook as it hit small dunes. After an hour, they reached the old mining site. Giant metal towers stood like skeletons, half buried in dust. Near one of them, Rin spotted something glimmering. He stopped the vehicle and walked closer. A small round drone lay half destroyed on the ground, its surface still glowing faintly. Rin bent down to inspect it. "It is not from any local trader," he said. "It looks military." Mira knelt beside him. The markings on the drone were clear, the golden crest of the Celian Empire. Her eyes narrowed. Someone had been close enough to track her ship. She turned the device over and saw it still transmitting weak signals. Quickly, she pressed her wristband, and the small light on the drone faded out completely. Rin watched with surprise. "You know how to do that?" he asked. She looked up, her expression unreadable. "I studied machines like this before. We should leave it here. It might be dangerous," Rin agreed. They returned to the sand runner and headed back. On the way, the wind began to rise again. A storm was coming. The air filled with dust and visibility dropped. Rin guided the vehicle carefully, his eyes half closed to keep out the sand. When they reached the workshop, Mira helped him secure the doors and cover the ship. The storm hit hard, shaking the metal walls. They waited inside while the wind howled outside. Rin lit a small lantern and its light flickered on their faces. During the storm, Rin asked her, "You seem worried since we found that drone. Are you sure it was only a trader's machine?" Mira hesitated again. She wanted to tell him the truth, but she knew the risk. If she revealed who she was, it could bring danger to him. So she said, "I think someone is searching for me, but not for anything you should fear. I will not let harm come to this place." Rin nodded. He trusted her even without full answers. "Then you will not face it alone," he said. "You are my guest. Until your ship flies again, this is your home." His words touched her deeply. In all her years commanding fleets and giving orders to thousands, no one had ever spoken to her with such simple kindness. After the storm passed, Mira went outside and looked at the stars again. She reached for her wristband and sent a short-coded message into space, a signal known only to her most loyal guard. She did not want armies to come, only to know if anyone still loyal to her survived. Rin, meanwhile, worked late into the night, checking the power lines and adjusting the energy converter. He wanted to make sure the ship would be ready soon. He saw the faint light on Mira's wrist, but thought it was only a tool. Over the next few days, more strange signs appeared. Rin noticed marks on the sand near the edge of the settlement, like footprints made by mechanical legs. Once he heard a high-pitched sound from the sky, and when he looked up, he thought he saw a reflection of a larger ship far above the clouds. He told Mira about it. She looked calm, but inside she knew that her enemies were closer than ever. Her empire believed she was dead, but her attackers might be searching to confirm it. That evening, while Rin worked on the last repairs, Mira stood beside him and said, "When my ship is ready, I must leave quickly. I cannot tell you where I am going, but you must stay safe." Rin frowned. "You sound like you are running from something more than a broken engine." She looked at him, her eyes soft but filled with sadness. "Maybe I am, but I am grateful you helped me even when you did not know who I was." He smiled faintly. "You did not need to tell me who you are to deserve help. Sometimes people just need someone to fix what is broken." Those words stayed in her heart long after he said them. That night the winds were still, and the stars above Terran seemed brighter than ever. Mira sat alone outside, her mind heavy with thought. She knew the time was near when she would have to reveal her true identity, but she also knew that when she did, the peace of this place would end. For now, she let herself enjoy one last quiet evening under the twin suns of Terran, beside the man who had shown her more kindness than any soldier or court official ever had. The suns of Terran rose early and bright that morning. The air was calm and the sky was clear blue. Rin stood outside his workshop, wiping his hands after finishing the last repairs on Mira's ship. He felt proud of his work. The once broken vessel now stood tall again, shining faintly under the light. The ship's core hummed gently, steady and alive. Mira came out from the hut and looked at it with quiet admiration. "You did it," she said softly. "It looks perfect," Rin smiled. "It was not easy, but it is ready to fly now. You can leave any time you want." Mira did not answer right away. She looked around the scrapyard, the dusty hills and the small home that had given her shelter. There was something peaceful about this place, something that reminded her of what life was before she carried the weight of 1,000 worlds. She turned to Rin and said, "I will leave soon. But before I go, I want to thank you properly." Rin shook his head. "No need, you needed help and I could help." "That is enough," Mira smiled gently. "You always say that. But kindness is something rare, Rin. You gave it freely." Before Rin could reply, a sharp sound cut through the air. It was distant at first, like thunder. Then it grew louder. Rin looked up and saw streaks of light crossing the sky. "Meteor shower?" he said. Mira's face turned pale. She recognized that sound. It was not meteors. It was orbital entry. Ships were coming through the atmosphere at high speed. Her heart started to beat faster. She knew the pattern of their approach. These were military crafts, not traders or miners. Rin watched the sky with growing concern. "That is too low for meteors," he said slowly. "And look, there are more." Within minutes, several dark shapes appeared high above, cutting through the sky like blades. Their engines roared as they descended toward the horizon. Trails of smoke followed them. The ground shook faintly. Mira grabbed Rin's arm. "We must go inside," she said quickly. "Now," Rin did not argue. They ran into the workshop. The lights flickered as shock waves passed overhead. Outside, the sound of explosions echoed across the plain. Dust and debris filled the air. Rin looked through a small window and saw fire rising in the distance near the mining fields. Mira closed her eyes for a moment, her mind racing. Those were Celian assassin ships. They had found her. She had tried to stay hidden, but the drone they found must have sent a signal before she destroyed it. Rin turned to her. "Mira, what is happening? Who are they?" She looked at him with regret. "They are not traders or pirates. They came for me. They think I am dead, but now they know I survived. If they find us, they will destroy everything." Rin frowned. "Then we have to run. We can take your ship and leave." Mira shook her head. "No, my ship's systems are still weak. If I fly now, they will track me easily. We must hide until I can power the defense core." Rin's mind moved fast. He had dealt with many broken machines, but never with soldiers or warships. Still, he refused to leave her alone. "Then we fight," he said firmly. "I have some old defense drones and a few pulse cannons. They are rusty, but they still work." Mira looked at him, surprised by his courage. He was just a repairman, yet he stood ready to protect her without question. They worked quickly. Rin ran outside and activated 3 defense drones that hovered above the workshop. Mira stayed near her ship, entering a sequence of commands on her wristband. The metal around the ship began to shift, revealing hidden panels that Rin had never seen before. Energy lines glowed faintly along the surface. Suddenly, the first explosion hit the far edge of the scrapyard. The ground shook violently. Rin ducked behind a wall as debris flew past him. He could hear the loud hum of enemy ships overhead. Mira shouted something, and Rin turned to see her standing near the ship with her hand raised. The air shimmered, and a thin blue shield formed around the ship and the workshop. The energy crackled as another blast hit it, but it held strong. Rin stared in shock. "You can do that?" Mira nodded. "This is part of the ship's defense field. It will not hold long. We must be ready." Outside, 3 enemy fighters circled the area, scanning for life signs. Their black metal bodies reflected the sunlight. One of them fired a plasma bolt that hit the ground near the workshop, sending waves of heat across the sand. Rin activated the old pulse cannon fixed on a metal stand. It powered up with a slow hum, and he fired. The cannon's blue shot hit one of the fighters, burning its wing. The ship spun and crashed into the ground. The other 2 turned sharply, focusing their fire on the workshop. Inside, Mira pressed her wristband again. A soft light surrounded her body. Her calm expression changed to one of command. She was no longer hiding. She was now the High Commander again. She sent a signal through her ship's restored communication array. "Unit code Mira 7, she said in a steady voice. "To any loyal Celian fleet in range, identify and respond. Coordinates Terran sector." There was no answer. She tried again. The silence told her that her loyal forces were too far, or worse, had been ordered not to search for her. Rin continued firing the old cannon, managing to hit another fighter. The third one launched a missile toward them. Mira raised her hand and a pulse of blue light burst from her wristband. The missile exploded mid-air, showering the desert with sparks. Rin turned to her in amazement. "You can fight them like that?" Her eyes glowed faintly. "Yes, but I need more power. The ship's core is not at full capacity." Before Rin could respond, more enemy ships appeared in the sky. Larger ones this time. Their engines were deep and heavy, and the ground vibrated as they descended. The shield flickered under the strain of their bombardment. Rin shouted over the noise, "We cannot hold much longer." Mira took a deep breath. "Then I must reveal what I tried to hide." She walked to her ship and placed both hands on the surface. The core inside the vessel brightened and streams of light shot into the air. The ship lifted slowly, even while still surrounded by the damaged yard. Panels opened and golden light poured out. Rin stepped back as the energy filled the area. The enemy ships paused in midair, their sensors detecting something powerful awakening below. Mira's voice grew calm again, but it carried authority. "I am Mira of the Celian Empire, rightful High Commander of the 7 fleets. You dare attack me on this world? You will answer for it." The ship responded to her words. A wave of blue and gold energy spread outward, forming a barrier that stretched across the plain. The nearest enemy ships were caught in the field, their engines freezing midair. A moment later, they exploded one after another in silent flashes of light. Rin shielded his eyes. The wind carried the shockwaves away, leaving silence behind. When the light faded, Mira stood beside her ship, breathing heavily. Her wristband dimmed, and the glowing lines on the ship began to fade. The shield around the workshop remained, but it flickered softly now. Rin walked closer, his face filled with disbelief. "You are not just a traveler." Mira turned to him slowly. Her voice was quiet but firm. "No, I am not. I am the ruler of the Celian Empire. I command fleets that cross galaxies. The people who attacked us are traitors. They tried to end my rule." Rin stood still for a moment, trying to take in her words. The woman he had found broken in the dust was a leader of entire worlds. Yet she had slept in his small home, eaten his simple food, and worked beside him like an ordinary person. He finally said, "Then you must finish what they started." "You cannot hide anymore," Mira nodded. "I will not. But I would not have survived without your help, Rin. You gave me something my empire forgot, compassion." Above them, the sky was clearing again. The last of the smoke faded into the blue. Rin looked at the burning wrecks across the horizon, and then at her ship. "What will you do now?" he asked. She looked toward the stars. "I will call my loyal fleets. I will take back what is mine. But before that, I will make sure this planet is safe." Rin smiled faintly. "You sound like a leader again." Mira looked at him with gratitude. "You made me remember what a true leader should be." The desert wind blew softly between them. The danger had passed for now, but both knew it was not over. Above the quiet world of Terran, the galaxy had just learned that its lost commander still lived. And those who feared her would soon come again. The morning after the battle, Terran was silent. The skies that once burned with fire were now clear again. Dust hung over the fields where old machines lay in pieces, and the smell of smoke still floated in the air. Rin walked among the broken metal looking for survivors. Many small homes had fallen, and people were helping each other rebuild. Rin felt tired but calm. He had faced fear and stayed alive, though he still could not understand how. Mira stood on the ridge near her ship, which was now glowing with a strange light. She no longer hid her true self. Her posture was strong, her eyes bright like two small stars. The people of Terran watched her with awe. They did not know who she was, only that she had fought for them when the sky fell apart. Her ship's command systems were awake now, and it hummed like something alive. Rin approached her slowly, his clothes torn and hands black with dirt. He looked at the shining craft and then at her. She turned when she heard his steps. "You are not just a traveler," Rin said softly. "You are someone powerful." Mira looked at him for a long moment. Then she nodded. "Yes, Rin. My name is Mira of Celian Empire. I am the High Commander, the one who governs 1,000 worlds." Rin froze. The words sounded unreal. He had heard stories of the Celian Empire, a force so large it ruled across half the galaxy. He had never met anyone from that world, much less their leader. He stepped back, feeling small in front of her. "You mean," he said slowly, "you are that Mira, the one who commands the fleets that protect the outer systems?" "Yes," she said. "And the fleet that attacked us last night belonged to those who betrayed me. They thought I was dead, and they came to make sure I never return." Rin's heart pounded. He looked at the burned sky again. So the attack had not been random. It was a hunt. She had been the target. He felt strange knowing that the woman he had shared food with was someone who could summon armies with a single word. Yet even now she looked calm and humble. "You helped me without knowing any of this," Mira said. "You gave me safety, food, and time to heal. I will never forget that." Rin shrugged a little. "Anyone would have done the same." Mira smiled faintly. "No, not everyone. Many would have sold me or handed me over for reward. You did not." Suddenly, the air around them shimmered. A deep sound filled the valley. Rin looked up and saw silver shapes appear in the clouds. One by one, giant ships emerged from the sky. They were smooth, bright, and larger than any craft he had ever seen. The ground trembled slightly as they hovered above the colony. The people of Terran ran out from their shelters, staring at the sight. Rin stood beside Mira, shielding his eyes. "What are they?" "They are my loyal fleets," she answered. "They have found me." The ships spread across the sky like silent guardians. From their undersides, beams of light stretched down to the ground. Figures began to appear, wearing shining armor and symbols of the Celian Empire. They knelt before Mira as she walked forward, her head high. A tall officer stepped out from the front line. He removed his helmet and bowed deeply. "High Sovereign Mira, we thought we lost you. The Council grieved your death." "I am alive," Mira said, "and those who betrayed me will answer soon. But before that, you will help me rebuild this world." The officer looked confused. "This colony, my sovereign? It is poor and outside our control." Mira's voice became firm. "This colony gave me shelter when I had nothing. Its people fought beside me. We will restore it to glory." Rin listened quietly. He felt both amazed and uneasy. He had never wanted fame or reward. He had only done what felt right. Now standing beside her, he felt as if he were standing next to the sun. The soldiers moved with precision, setting up command posts and bringing aid supplies. Massive containers of food, metal, and water dropped from orbit. Mira turned to Rin. "You saved me, Rin. Tell me what you wish for. I will give you anything within my power." He thought for a while. "I don't want anything for myself. But the people here, they deserve better. We've lived under broken roofs and dying machines for years. If you can, rebuild Terran. Give them light, water, and food." Mira looked at him with gentle eyes. "That is your only wish?" He nodded. "Yes, I'm just a repairman. I don't need gold or titles." She placed a hand on his shoulder. "You are more than a repairman. You reminded me of what truly matters." Within hours, Mira's orders spread through her fleet. Workers and machines from orbit came down. Drones started clearing the rubble and metal towers began to rise. The people of Terran could not believe what they were seeing. Streets that were once dust now shone under clean lights. Fresh air flowed from new purifiers. For the first time in decades, the colony felt alive. Rin watched the transformation quietly. Children laughed again. Old miners wept as they saw their homes rebuilt. Mira's soldiers worked with care and respect, guided by her command. Every person on Terran began to see her not as a stranger but as a protector. That night, the colony held a gathering. Fires burned softly under the stars. Mira sat among the people dressed simply again, no longer hiding but also not wearing her grand uniform. She talked to the workers, listened to their stories, and laughed at their jokes. Rin sat nearby, watching her blend with his people like she had always been one of them. When the night grew quiet, Mira looked up at the sky filled with her ships. "The galaxy can be large and cold," she said, "but it still has hearts like yours, Rin. Hearts that remind rulers what it means to care." Rin smiled faintly. "Sometimes even a small person can fix something big." She nodded. "Yes, and sometimes that small person saves the soul of an empire." Before dawn, Mira's command center received a signal. Her council awaited her return. The traitors had taken over the capital, and her loyal forces needed her to lead again. She rose to her feet, her face set with calm determination. "It is time for me to go," she told Rin. "But I will return when Terran stands as the jewel of this sector. That is my promise." Rin looked at her ship as it prepared to lift. He felt both proud and sad. "I hope the stars treat you kindly," he said. She smiled. "The stars already have. They sent me to you." With a low hum, her ship rose from the ground. The fleet above opened a path, and one by one, the ships followed her lead. The sky filled with light as the queen of 1,000 worlds left the dusty planet that had saved her. When the light faded, Rin stood in silence. Around him, the colony shone like new. People were already at work, rebuilding with fresh hope. Rin walked back to his workshop, his heart peaceful. He had no riches, no medals, but he had something better. The memory of kindness shared between a simple man and a ruler of stars. In the days that followed, messages came from the Celian fleet. Supplies arrived each month and new settlers came to live on Terran. It became one of the most advanced colonies in the sector. But Rin stayed the same. He still repaired old machines, helped his neighbors, and smiled when he saw children running through bright new streets. The name of Mira spread again through the galaxy. Stories told of her courage and how she returned stronger than ever. Yet among her empire's grand halls, one small world remained special to her. The world of Terran, where a humble man reminded her what it meant to be human. And though galaxies away, when she looked out from her palace windows at the stars, she always thought of the man who asked for nothing but kindness. Weeks passed since Mira had returned to her empire. From the distance of her command bridge, she watched her fleets restore order across her worlds. Traitors had been captured, their plans dismantled, and loyal forces re-established control. Her people celebrated her return, and the empire that had once feared chaos now breathed again under her calm authority. Yet Mira's thoughts often returned to Terran. She remembered the dusty hills, the small metal house, and the man who had offered her food, shelter, and trust without ever asking who she was. Rin's quiet strength had stayed with her. In all the grandeur of her palaces and fleets, she realized that courage did not always come with power. Sometimes it came in the simple acts of humans, the ones who expected nothing in return. Mira sent a fleet to Terran. She had promised Rin that the colony would be restored, and she would keep that promise. When the first ships entered orbit above Terran, the people below looked up in wonder. Massive containers of supplies descended slowly, landing gently in the new streets and plazas. Water purifiers, solar grids, medical units, and farms arrived in abundance. Streets that were once dusty trails now had smooth paths lined with lights, and homes that were old and broken now shone like polished metal. Rin worked alongside the settlers, showing them how to assemble the machines. repair the buildings, and maintain the new energy systems. Though he could have asked for wealth or power, he did not. His joy came from seeing the community thrive. Children ran through the streets laughing, while elders smiled at the sight of their homes restored. Every face in the colony reflected hope, and Rin felt a quiet pride in what they had accomplished together. One evening, after the work of the day was done, Rin sat on the ridge near his workshop. Mira appeared beside him, her uniform shining faintly under the setting suns. She did not speak immediately. She simply looked at the colony spread below them, alive and vibrant. "You did all this," Rin said softly, gesturing to the bustling streets. "I only helped a little," Mira shook her head. "You helped the most. Without you, I would not have survived and Terran would not have been saved. You reminded me what it means to care. I had fleets, weapons, and power, but it was your courage that gave me life." Rin felt a warm feeling in his chest. "I did what anyone should do. I helped someone in need. But you did it without knowing the consequences," Mira said. "That is what makes your courage special." From orbit, her fleets continued to drop more supplies. Schools, libraries, medical stations, and workshops appeared across Terran. Mira had directed engineers and architects to build not just for survival, but for a bright future. She wanted the colony to be a place where children could dream, where farmers could grow crops without fear, and where every person could feel valued. Rin taught the settlers how to use energy grids, maintain water systems, and repair machines. He moved from house to house, fixing small engines, adjusting solar panels, and helping children build their first learning devices. Mira watched him quietly, impressed by how his simple acts of care created a ripple that would last for generations. The news of Terran's transformation spread quickly across nearby star systems. Traders and explorers stopped by, amazed at how a once-forgotten world had become a shining hub. Mira's empire sent emissaries to document the progress, recording the names of the people who helped. But every official record also included Rin, the simple man who had taught the empire's queen about humanity. One day, as Rin worked on a newly installed water purifier, Mira approached him carrying a small box. She handed it to him with a gentle smile. "For you," she said, "a token of my gratitude. Nothing can repay your kindness, but this is a small reminder of how much you helped." Rin opened the box carefully. Inside was a simple medal engraved with the symbol of Terran and the words, "For courage, compassion, and loyalty." He felt a lump in his throat. I cannot accept this," Rin said quietly. "I did what anyone should have done," Mira shook her head. "You did more than anyone should. You acted with courage when danger came without knowing who I was or what could happen. That is why this belongs to you." Rin looked around at the colony, the restored streets, the laughing children, and the thriving community. He realized that perhaps this medal was not just for him, but for the people of Terran as well. He nodded and held it carefully, feeling its weight. Days turned into weeks. Mira spent most of her time overseeing the restoration of other colonies, while still checking on Terran from orbit. She often communicated with Rin, asking about progress, ideas, and needs. He became her trusted advisor in all things related to the colony, though he remained humble and never asked for recognition. One evening, Mira landed on Terran. She walked among the settlers, listening to their stories and sharing meals with them. She treated everyone equally, no matter their role or status. Rin watched from a distance as she laughed with children, helped repair a broken water wheel, and spoke kindly to an elder who had once doubted her intentions. "You have changed this place," Rin said as she approached him after the crowd dispersed. Mira smiled. "We changed it together. You reminded me what it means to lead with heart, not just with orders. The galaxy can be ruled by fear or power, but kindness builds worlds." Rin looked at her quietly. "I only did what was right. And that is why you are remembered," Mira said softly. "Not just in Terran, but across the stars. People will speak of you for generations. The man who helped the sovereign when all seemed lost. The one who taught a queen about courage, loyalty, and kindness. For the first time, Rin realized that small actions could echo far beyond what he imagined. A simple choice to help someone in need had changed the fate of worlds. Mira's empire now flourished again, but she never forgot the human who had shown her what mattered most. Months later, Terran became a hub of learning and technology. Schools taught children not only math and science, but also lessons of empathy and courage. Farmers grew crops with the guidance of new irrigation systems, and artisans built machines that could help other colonies. Rin continued his work repairing machines, but now he also taught young apprentices how to care for the world around them. One evening, Rin stood on the ridge overlooking Terran. Mira landed beside him in her ship. She had returned from her empire, satisfied that her rule was secure and her people loyal. "You look different," Rin said. "The world is brighter, and so are you." Mira smiled. "The world is brighter because of people like you, Rin. You showed me what it means to value life, to see beyond power and gold. You reminded me why I fight for my people." Rin shook his head, laughing softly. "I did nothing special. I just helped someone who needed it." "You did more than you know," Mira said, her voice gentle. "Without your help, I would not be here. Without your courage, Terran would still be a dusty world of fear. You are a hero not because of wealth or command, but because of your heart." Rin felt a warmth in his chest. For the first time, he understood the power of simple acts, helping someone, caring without expecting reward, and standing firm in the face of danger. These were the actions that could change not only one life, but many. Mira looked at the horizon. The stars were bright, scattered across the dark sky like diamonds. Her fleet remained in orbit, ready to protect her empire, but her thoughts were with Terran and the man who had taught her the most important lesson of all. "You know," she said softly, "some rulers forget what it means to be human. But you reminded me, Rin. You reminded me that even in a galaxy full of power and fear, there is strength and kindness." Rin nodded quietly. "I am glad it mattered to you." She placed her hand on his shoulder. "It mattered more than you can imagine. The Empire will remember you. The people of Terran will remember you, and I will never forget you. Your courage will echo across the stars." As Mira prepared to leave again, Rin waved, feeling a sense of peace he had never known. He returned to his workshop, his heart light. The world around him was bright, full of laughter and life. The colony he had saved with simple courage and kindness had grown into something magnificent. Across the galaxy, Mira ruled with wisdom and strength, but she always remembered the human who had changed her life. Rin remained on Terran, quiet and humble, yet forever known as the man who taught a queen about the greatest power of all, the power of compassion. And in every corner of the empire, stories were told of the human who helped the sovereign when all seemed lost. The man who reminded a galaxy that kindness could shine brighter than any weapon, that courage without wealth or rank could change the stars. Terran was no longer a dusty, forgotten world. It was a place of hope, learning, and life. Rin's name became a symbol of what one person could do. Mira's empire thrived, but she often looked at the stars and thought of him. For in a galaxy of endless battles and ambition, one human had taught the Queen of 1,000 Worlds the most important lesson. The greatest power in the universe was not ships, armies, or wealth. It was a kind and courageous heart. And so, Terran and Rin's story lived on, whispered across the stars, inspiring generations to come.